Hey guys, welcome back to Dad's Van. This weekend we're going to be putting in the finished flooring in this 2018 Sprinter van, and I have several things to show you about how we're going to do this that you might be interested in. First of all, we're going to be using this life-proof, waterproof, rigid core vinyl plank flooring. I'm going to be doing it in a shadow hickory color. This stuff's available from Home Depot, so it's pretty readily available. That's going to be going on top of our factory Sprinter subfloor, which I've filled in. You can see in our other video, I filled this in where the crew seat used to be with these filler pucks. And then once we get all this in, we'll be able to finally put in the Scopima Rib Alterra seat that we've already drilled holes for and we're ready to mount. We just need to get that finished floor in. The other thing we're going to be doing is putting in a step extension here from FVCO. We got an extension that will allow us to bring the floor out so that our galley kitchen can be on top of that. So thanks for joining, and let's check this out. All right, so the first consideration we need to make when thinking about where this flooring is going to go is, are we going to put finished flooring in the whole van? Now, with my design, this back area is all going to be for cargo, so I personally don't really want to add all this extra flooring and weight in the back of the van for an area we're never going to be walking on. So instead, my plan is to just reuse the Sprinter rubber factory floor mat, which works perfectly well. It's rough and rugged. You can drag stuff all over it, and it holds up pretty well. And then we'll have this piece of trim here. This is also the stock factory trim to bridge from that rubber floor mat on top of the subfloor to the height of the life-proof vinyl plank flooring. And the first thing we wanted to do is test that out. So if we line this up right on the edge there, there we go. So this piece of stripping here will be able to handle the transition from this flooring down. And just a close-up view at this strip that's going to handle this transition. It fits nicely over the little locking lip at the end of these planks, and then down onto the rubber floor mat down here. And we'll be able to use the existing screw holes and everything to hold that in place. All right, when you're getting ready to lay the vinyl plank, you're going to want to unbox the planks you're planning to use, at least the first couple boxes, and lay them out on the ground. You'll see there's a repeating pattern. In my case, I'm getting mostly this first type, and when it repeats, it might be shifted off just a little bit, but you'll see the same pattern if you look. See, in this case, right there. Right, so I wouldn't want to, have this piece then going into this next piece, because that pattern there repeats. So look for that. So far I've got 4 different types here. We'll see if any more come out when I open another box. All right, before you start cutting anything, you want to figure out what dimensions you're going to have that you're laying the vinyl planks on. In my case, I'm only going to be laying vinyl flooring in this front part of the van. The back part, I'm just going to keep the stock rubber mat, because that's kind of the cargo area. It's under the platform bed. I don't really need all the weight of the extra vinyl back there. So I'm going to have this transition where the vinyl ends onto that rubber mat. And that's exactly where the stock floor already has a seam. Up on the front here, same thing. I'm going to bring the vinyl flooring up to this stock subfloor seam, and then use a transition here back onto the factory flooring for the front. Okay, so like I said, with the width, we're going to end up with a 13 centimeter. So rather than 18, it'll be 13, but that's, you know, about 2/3 the width of a board, so that's pretty good. And that's what we'll end up with if we start at the far wall and come all the way up here to the step extension. So we can kind of take a look at how that'll look, because the other thing is we're going to have this notch out here, you know, from the extension onto the main floor. So if I look at 13 centimeters in, it's right about there. And then the next plank will be 18. So that'll take me out to about here. So the strip that's going to be going here will be about, let me say, 13, 18. Yeah, so about 11 centimeters in. So that's pretty good. It's not like a super narrow strip or anything, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I think given that, I'm gonna probably start on the far wall and work my way towards this end, as opposed to starting here and working my way towards the far end. So it's also important on the length, because you want to make sure that based on the length, you're not going to end up with like a full plank and then a tiny little piece on the end. So in my case, it's going to be a full plank, which is 121 centimeters, plus a 54 centimeter plank, which is about 54 centimeter plank, which is, yeah, a little under half. So I'm happy with that. We won't end up with any tiny pieces, so I think we're good to start laying this out. All right, before we start laying the vinyl planks, I first want to drill up for the seat from underneath the van through the subfloor, so we have all those holes identified, and then as we're laying the planks, we can drill the hole through the plank to line up with that. All right, there's our first two holes coming up through the floor for the seat. We'll drill the other two. Okay, this one is a little harder to reach. So what I had to do is get one of these really long extensions for my drill and attach a drill bit to it. It's a smaller drill bit, but as long as I come through the floor in the middle, I can come down with the 7/16 from inside the van. All right, we got the second two holes drilled, and you can check these by putting in the bolt. Just make sure that everything's going to go through. All right, when you lay vinyl plank flooring, you're going to need some tools to get the job done right. You're going to want a mallet, want a pull bar, want a tapping block, and some spacers. You can get all this stuff in the kit, which is nice. Costs like $30, but includes everything you need. All right, according to the installation instructions, they recommend starting from the left-hand corner. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that's going to make it a little easier to interlock the tiles as we go. So we'll start down there, and we'll have to cut for that D-ring, because we want to keep that in place, because that does help hold the subfloor down. All right, so on that first row where the D-ring used to be, I don't need the D-ring, but I do want to maintain access to the hole, because later when I build the 80/20 box that's going to hold the battery and the subwoofer. Subwoofer will be right in that area, and we're going to want to tie that aluminum 80/20 to the floor. So I want to have access to this. So I've gone ahead and measured where that hole will be from the edge, 6 centimeters in, and then 5.5 from the wall. I'm going to drill that out with a 5/16. All right. So now we have access to that hole. All right, first issue is for this corner here. There's actually a little jog I need to do to get this piece all the way up to the edge of the subfloor. And that's because behind this B pillar, there's the metal pops out here. So we'll just measure that. So I'm going to cut 9 centimeters in and then 4 centimeters down from the edge. All right, so I measured this notch 6 and 4. I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut that out. Good. And then we should be able to just cruise through several rows before we get to this area, which will require more cuts again. All right, so we got these 2 holes drilled. They were 4 inches in and different lengths down. It helps to just draw these lines out, and then you can mark on this board where that line was so that you can locate that hole when you're drilling. All right, we're down to the last piece. I did drill a hole here so we can get through to the factory mounting point later. All right, for this last section, I cut a piece and I left the bottom locking lip on so that can tuck in behind the black plastic, kind of help keep things in place there. All right, now we're ready to screw on this trim piece. And for that, I got these black painted 1/2 inch. All right, so I found that it's better to just pre-drill these out. All right, one of the last things we're gonna do to finish off this floor is seal along the edge here where our 1/4 inch gap is. And so that we get a nice clean look. What you want to do is get some painter's tape and make a nice line along here. What that'll do is let the silicone go down and seal it, and then when we pull it away, it'll leave a nice clean line. All right, sealing is all done. I ended up sealing it all 3 sides just so no moisture gets underneath. Also sealed back here in the corner. All right guys, that wraps it up for the finished floor installation in the Sprinter van. I'm really stoked with how this turned out. I think it looks beautiful, and it took about a weekend to get it done, but a couple of long weekend days to get it done, but well worth it. So let me give you a quick look up close. And again, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, check out the links to products I used in the video description, and most importantly, have fun out there.